All right, seething right now. So I was just on Walking Street, which is where, in Angeles City, where most of the foreigners hang out. Pretty much if there's any foreigners in Angeles City, they're gonna be on Walking Street. So obviously it's also a place where, you know, there's Filipino people who are, you know, doing things like, you know, services like making food and stuff like that, you know, like street food and things like that, that the foreigners are eating. So I'm at this hamburger shack. I featured it in one of my videos the other day. I'm at this hamburger shack where this lady is making hamburgers and hot dogs, right? She's a middle-aged Filipino woman. She's probably, I don't know, 55, 50 years old. And so there's these two guys that are sitting there also. It's an outdoor little shack, right? And one of the guys is an American and the other is an Australian. The Australian, he was cool, he was fine, okay? But the American, when she brings him his hot dog, he starts looking in the bag saying I didn't order this, and which is fine. You know, she made, I guess they had a miscommunication, which is, you know, not that unusual, seeing as English isn't the first language of both the people, right? But he was overreacting, like really overreacting, and like he was visibly upset about the order. Like he wasn't just being cool, right? When you're in a foreign country, it's important with the people who are the locals to, you know, respect that, you know, both people are not both speaking English as a first language, and there's a communication barrier. So you have to be gentle. Anyways, this guy was really not being gentle, which agitated me a little bit, because I was watching. It agitated everyone in the vicinity. There was probably about 25 people in the you know, surrounding 30 feet, and the way that this guy was treating this lady agitated everyone, right? But I'm right there, like right where this is happening. And so then this guy gets up, right? And he walks over and he corners this girl at her hamburger shack and starts getting in her face, yelling at her, being like, "Are you stupid? Are you stupid?" And at that point, I could not stand it anymore, and I got up from my seat and I start yelling at this guy, you know, leave her alone. Take your food and leave, is what I'm saying. And the guy then, this guy also, he's a middle-aged guy. He's probably about 55 years old, probably about 6'3". He's pretty tall, middle-aged white man. And so now I'm up on my feet now, and I'm next to this guy now, telling him to get lost because he's abusing this woman. And anyways, he says a little bit more shit, and then ends up walking away, leaving, you know, continually swearing, you know, as he's leaving. He's still being like a fucking idiot, you know, about this woman. And really agitated me, definitely made my hair stand up, because you know what, that guy was coming from a position where, you know, they're not speaking the same language. He's in their country, and he is, you know, in an economically superior position. He's also a larger human being, much larger than this little Filipino woman. She's, you know, maybe 5'1". He's about 6'3", and, you know, he's berating her about his hot dog not being made correctly, and calling her stupid and shit. And you know, I have no tolerance for abusing people who are weaker. That's one of the things, is that you should never get into confrontations. And I'm really, you know, I was really reluctant. You know, it wasn't until he actually got in her face and started to say, you know, yelling, "Are you stupid?" up into her face, that I actually did stand up, because I know that, you know, once you do start, you initiate a confrontation like that, you know, it can move forward very quickly, and I never ever want to have a physical confrontation with anyone. It's always terrible. And you know, I wouldn't have done anything more than just speak to him, unless, you know, he decided to physically attack her. Then, you know, I would have had to put my hands on him as well. But otherwise, no, I wouldn't under any circumstances. But, you know, it is really sick to be such a fucking bastard, to go to someone else's country, have language communication barriers, be like in economically dominant position, and then to be like, you know, calling this woman who is like, I mean, she works at the hamburger shack and makes hamburgers for a living for tourists, man. And you start going up to her and yelling at her in her face, cornering her in her fucking shack, saying, "Are you stupid? Are you stupid?" And fuck that guy, man. Fuck that guy. You know how that guy was being a fucking bully? To that a big man was being a big bully to a little woman. Why? Because he could. Because he was bigger than her, and she was helpless. She couldn't do anything about it, and she was obviously scared. It was very evident that she wanted to get away and couldn't. So, you know, a lot of you guys, maybe if you ever do use gear, because it'll make you big, and maybe you have small man syndrome right now, or just never be a bully because you can, okay? Never get into fights because you can, because you're bigger than the other person. What you should do is specifically walk away, because you're bigger and it's not fair. Not demeaning that a Muay Thai fighter that isn't as big as me couldn't kick my ass. They could, but you know, for the average thingamajig, you use it to protect people. Don't use it to be a bully, and don't fall into that bullshit of being confrontational because you're big and because you're stronger than other people. Be a gentleman and be a defender. Be a defender, don't be a bully.